YouTube crew, welcome to the daily stream. Today, I'll talk about gradualism. Do you feel like you're gradually being robbed of every penny? Like every quarter of a penny, every tenth of a cent? Like, is that what's currently going on? Because there's certainly a lot of talk, thusly. It's been certainly some gradualism in terms of gradually gradually seeing worse and worse economic conditions for decades. My phone doesn't even stand upright, and I have a stand. Like nothing works. What's up with that? Anybody else experiencing this? The old the old nothing works routine? Is that fun? Is that what's going on with you? Certainly what's going on here at the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name and News. I won't get into the specifics, but it's been it's been suboptimal where I'm coming from. What about you? Let us know in the comments. And yeah, lots of very unfortunate economic indicators coming out, like the dollar index and like the housing report. Yeah, the majority of Americans can no longer afford rent. How about that? Over 50% of Americans can't afford rent. What do you think of that, Ricky? That's great, right? Ricky's like, is ours going to go up 6%? Yeah, that's the that's the expectation. Expect your rent to go up 6% more next year if you're paying rent. And hopefully you're not, because it's not a very good investment, is it? But in any case, gradualism, yeah, gradualism. It's the reason that it's in the title of this video is because in science, there are sort of two schools of thought in the earth sciences. And the two schools of thought are gradualism and catastrophism. Gradualism being the opposite of catastrophism. Most people in science think that most major earth changes happen over long periods of time. And there's a reason for this. It's because the geologic record supports that. In other words, the geologic record doesn't lie. Doomsday prophets lie. And this is why, not the lying. The lying isn't why we ascribe more to gradualism than catastrophism. It's because a preponderance of the facts, the data, that's what makes things look gradualist, not catastrophist. So, for example, Earth's axial tilt, it doesn't change overnight. It takes, what is it, a 26,000 year cycle, something like that? And of course, we see the precession of Earth's axial tilt happening. Prince Andrew was arrested. Ex-Prince Andrew was arrested. Okay. That's good to know. Can you divulge what for? What are the charges, if any? Or was he just arrested with no charges? Is that maybe that's a standard operating procedure nowadays? Just arresting people with no charges could be a thing. I wouldn't, frankly, be very surprised. And where was he arrested? Was he arrested in the UK, or isn't Prince Andrew? I don't even know who it is. So I don't pay attention to royalty. It's more ultra-rich plutocrats, effectively. So, but did ex-Prince Andrew run anything? Was he like in charge of something important? I don't know. But here's the sun. That's the past like 6 hours. When the whole run plays, it'll be like 12 hours. But we've got some prominences, including a crown prominence. A big one over here on the southwestern limb. That one produced some coronal mass ejection action yesterday. And we may see a coronal mass ejection impact today. We will put your comments on the screen. Thanks for leaving some. Barbarian1111, one of our longtime viewers. Thanks as always for tuning in and supporting the channel with things like super chats and likes and shares. And of course, we encourage our viewers to share the videos because it's not so easy to get anything onto screens anymore. Is it because there's too much AI slop, trash, junk, sludge? That's part of it. That's definitely part of it. Barb says Prince Andrew is a Rothschild. Alrighty. So let's check out some more space weather data here. See what's been going on with the X-ray flux. There was an active region that looked like it was rising there, but the background flux is still only in the B-class range, and we've only had C-class flares in the past day. There's the one-day chart. Only C-class events and small ones at that. So this active region that rose down here, it's not very sunspotty. Let's look at the HMI. Let's look at the continuum instead. And that is just a plage. Barely an umbra visible there, but that will raise the sunspot number a little bit today when that updates, if it hasn't already done so. The rest of these spots are pretty magnetically simple. This one is a beta class, but just a plain beta class sunspot. I mean, you could make the argument that it's beta gamma class because of this little bit of shear here and here, but that's just a beta class sunspot, folks. Not likely to produce large solar flares. Where did it go? I don't know. It's whatever. We won't worry about cosmic ray flux. We're going to make this video a little bit shorter than usual, perhaps. Fingers crossed. Let's see if the Huxt forecast is continuing to include Earth-directed CME strikes today, and it looks like they are. So we are expecting some space weather to be coming in today, consistent with coronal mass ejections we've covered on the channel. So there you go. There's a visualization of it. And looks like that's the same forecast as yesterday. So the timing is the same. I'm just going to press refresh to make sure that we do have the latest. And then there's a coronal hole high-speed stream behind that coronal mass ejection. That's still a couple days out. There's that impact that we're talking about. It'll be a fairly long duration, 12 to 18 hours probably, something like that. Here's the coronal hole that we're talking about. This is going to provide a high-speed stream for maybe about a day or so. Also, folks, don't forget to sort your chat. Instead of top chat, click live chat. That way you'll see all the comments instead of the unnecessarily curated comments. I don't know why YouTube does that. Everything should be default all comments. We are free speech purists on this channel, so we encourage all legal speech. We did have a little strengthening of the fields there. Fields went up to a BZ of 7 with a -4 for the B's. I'm sorry, a BT of 7 nanotesla with a BZ of -4. And we're at around 500 kilometers a second for the solar wind velocity here. So still an elevated coronal hole high-speed stream from those South Pole-oriented coronal holes, the ones that are, I'm sorry, North Pole coronal holes that are setting over here. These South Pole coronal holes are going to be the ones that are going to be causing high-speed wind in a couple of days, but it's going to be a minor space weather event. It's not going to be like a major mid-latitude aurora likely or anything like that. Solar wind is measured out here at Lagrange 1, well outside of Earth's magnetosphere. And today is being measured by the ASM to discover. Here are their orbits Green is the ace, blue's the discover. Magnetosphere is calm. There is no significant space weather afoot. Just a high-speed solar wind at a fairly nominal density. And YouTube wants to know your favorite sandwich filling, because reasons. I said PBJ. I don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, here are the magnetometers. The GOES are at a geosynchronous orbit in the outer Van Allen belt region. Like I said, space weather is calm, so no big spikes in that, but you can see those field changes that I just talked about. They did cause minor perturbations. Meanwhile, NOAA's not forecasting any space weather. Like I said yesterday, NOAA is a little bit stricter with their forecasts than ESA and NASA because astronauts. All right, so here is our radio flux, which is hovering around 120 solar flux units right now for the past few days. 120 solar flux units is the F107. Sunspot number here coming up to about 48 sunspots, 49 sunspots, something like that, according to Belgian Royal Observatory. My voice is going, and this stream is going to be gone. Pretty shortly. We're going to blast through the rest of this space weather stuff. I don't see any new CMEs on anything. This is where planets are. Let's skip that. Ginger tea is your favorite sandwich filling. That's a weird sandwich filling. Although I eat all kinds of sandwiches. Hard salami, roast beef, ham, turkey, pastrami, corned beef. I'm very sandwichy. So here's the heliosphere. Just today, we'll look at today's data. Earth is in a South Pole-oriented magnetic sector. As you can see there, shown in red, it's governed by the South Pole-oriented coronal holes. There's a line of sight field plot showing the solar B field in blue. You can think of that as the net field. Polar fields are there in red for south and green for north. South Pole coronal hole high-speed stream coming in about 2.5 days. L-Tide magnetogram confirming what I said earlier, that we don't have any really active regions there. So the likelihood for large flares is not present. Here's a red light imagery. A low number of sunspots. That's like only 50 sunspots or so, 49 sunspots, something like that. Here's the hydrogen alpha, which is great at showing filaments. There is a color version of this as well, but the color images aren't as good at showing these prominences hanging off the limb, like this big prominence down here in the southwest. Keep in mind, for you new viewers who are not familiar with looking at these images, these features you see down here are the same as these features here. The difference is, this is a lot of hydrogen overlapping the edge, or hanging off the edge of the sun. This is a bunch of additional heavier elements that are, blocking the hydrogen signal. So they appear dark when they're overlapping the solar disk, and they appear bright when they're hanging off the edge. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. the quote social media and quote platform that some people refer to as X. But since that can't possibly be a brand, see, we use X, that's a letter. So we can't make a brand into a letter. That's how branding works in the US. You can't brand a letter because we use that for words. This is how language and alphabets work. But so anyway, on Twitter, you can find us over there, and you'll find some exclusive content there. Want your logo on cycling kits or want your commercial on our YouTube channel? We'll consider it. Let us know what you do, and we may advertise you. It's possible. It may be very cost effective, as we can guarantee lots of views. Anyway, here's the electron flux, and that is dropping down here. But we can still expect it to go back into warning levels today. So don't expect great GPS performance. Here's your total electron content forecast. The Marion Lewis eats ginger tea sandwiches. All right, so don't expect major radio outages as a result of solar flares or proton events. We're likely to have pretty good radio propagation here. The likelihood for large solar flares, just to say it again, is not there. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere. There's a diagram of it. Space weather starts here at the D region, where Earth's atmosphere is mostly ions, mostly charged particles. Below the D region, we have mostly neutral particles. That's where regular weather happens. And here's the ionosphere. From Australian Bureau of Meteorology, here's the anomalogram, distinctly showing where the African anomaly is. In a couple hours, it'll show where the South Atlantic anomaly is, now in the equatorial Pacific. The extreme eastern equatorial Pacific is where the South Atlantic anomaly has now fixated. Are you fixated on the shape of the planet? Well, here it is. A croissant-shaped Earth casted onto a fake Photoshop spherical model. Croissant Earth. Welcome to it. That's the Atlantic sunrise for today, 19 February. Anyway, before we get to the water vapor map, let's talk about merch. We got some. It's totally sweet. We don't meme the way most channels do, you see, folks. We don't meme the way most channels do. We meme hard. And we put out public service messages like this one. This used to be our top seller right here. So I would implore you to not pole vault the caldera. It could be unfortunate. Don't do what Steve Stimpak did and just pole vault the caldera. It could be very bad for your health. So please don't. If you want this on a shirt or perhaps on your shower curtain, yeah, we can make that happen. Links in the description to the Redbubble shop. Thanks to everybody who supports the channel with merch. It does have our homepage there at the bottom, smashomash.com. You can find all the links there. The shop is smashomash.redbubble.com. Next, our water vapor map for the U.S. I think we don't have enough. We'll do the full 50 frames here and the full U.S. view. So there we go. California's getting a respite from atmospheric rivers, I see, as dry air is pushing the moisture out for a minute. Let's take a look at that. We talked about dry, massive air on yesterday's stream. And if you want to know how to read weather maps, understanding that nitrogen is more massive than H2O helps. So it's cleared up in San Diego by now. You can mark my words on that. I've been to San Diego. I drove there from Allentown one time. Yeah, in a moving truck towing a car. It was a thing. Moisture moving into the Gulf Coast. Moisture moving into the Gulf Coast. Northern Texas is dry. Here's your Doppler radar. Some heavy weather here making its way across Indiana into Toledo. Toledo, you're in the crosshairs. Also, Detroit. Detroit is going to get plastered by this storm. And some bad weather coming to western Lake Erie. That's the heaviest storm in a while. A lot of motion there on the U.S. Doppler radar. Meanwhile, Northern California is still inundated. It is actually too moist. We hope no mountains are collapsing and causing landslides. That's a very unhealthful situation, landslides. They're like a tsunami of mud. It's suboptimal. Don't get in one. Don't drive in one. You know how this works. Heed the warnings and so on. So here's our forecast for Lehigh Valley, PA, and a high near 40 today. Rain tonight, rain tomorrow, high near 41. Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 45. Most of the snow will be gone by Saturday night. And then into Sunday, some snow coming. How you like them apples? Do we have any lightning associated with that storm? We'll get to it. But first, the windy.com map. You can do it. You can do it. There we go. It's a great satellite map, so I like to show it. That's the cloud situation. And there is indeed a little bit of lightning there. You can see it in Indiana. Let's see where the current strikes are. Pardon my tab use. Hey, Fort Wayne, there's thunder rolling in. Oh, I think I'm behind. Please load the current data. There has been lightning. Maybe it's subsided. But yeah, Fort Wayne, Indiana looks like it's got a little bit of thunderstorm activity there. Maybe no active strikes. We only have a 1.7 second delay here. Okay, there are some active strikes, I think there. Fort Wayne, Indiana. There's thunder rolling in. Lightningmaps.org. It's pretty sweet. We'll cover the winds of the planet, surface and jet stream. But first, some tropical tidbits forecast models. We're going to run the total positive snow depth change in inches for 72 hours. Here is that GFS model. So quite a bit more snow coming. Especially the windward Rockies and everything west of it, really. Some pretty decent snow there coming to Iowa. Wisconsin's going to get a full coating. New York's going to get another full coating. New England's going to get a full coating except for Maine. Some of the most northern reaches, they're not showing up on the map. So anyway, here are the surface winds of the east. A strong low here south of Kamchatka remains. Jet streams looking like this, a huge divergence and some big bends over the Pacific Ocean. Jet streams of the central world, shout out to our viewers. From Europe and Africa and the Middle East. Shout out to our viewers on the surface. If you're viewing from space, another timeline, dimension, plane of existence, spaceship, star system, planet, etc., make sure you leave us a comment. Tell us where you're viewing from. Cheers. Thanks for leaving a comment. One boom shall. What do you think of Israel? It's some country in the Middle East, founded in the late 1940s. Here are the jet streams of the Central world. You'll have to be more specific than what do you think of Israel? I wouldn't move there. How about Australia? Oh man, Australia, I've got some insight into that. It's a mess. It's an economic mess. And yeah, Australia, I wouldn't move there. Although I would try to import friends from there to move here. Anyway, there's the jet stream scenario for the Western world. Shout out to our American viewers, whether it's north or south. I'm from the U.S., Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, right about here on the map. Almost in smelling distance of New Jersey if the wind blows in the wrong direction. So there are the surface winds and a very strong low continues to make some very high seas there in that North Atlantic. Let's close out with more solar imagery. There's the house favorite wavelength. We do have some more active regions that are still rising over here. So I suspect there is a sunspot just behind the limb here. And I see some activity back here too. So there's probably a sunspot in the northern hemisphere as well as just south of the equator here, right around the equatorial region. So that's going to be a repeat sunspot, I think. And yeah, so that's basically what's going on. There's really no new major space weather, but we may see a CME impact today. So tonight into tomorrow, we may see some mid-latitude aurora. Now, we're not going to be able to see it here. It's going to be cloudy in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. But we hope you're able to see the aurora if some space weather should strike. And if so, make sure you hit us up on social media. We may even feature your photos or videos on the channel. So anyway, I'm going to let that run through one more time here and close this thing out. Many F's given. And yeah, hopefully you ascribe to gradualism and not catastrophism, because that's the way all the evidence indicates things actually work. Some things happen rapidly, but most things happen gradually in earth science. So there's that. Anyway, there are the last couple of hours. We're going to let this play through to get a full 12-hour run there in 304 angstroms. It's ionized helium from the GOES 19 SUVI. One of the premier wavelengths through which to view El Sol, Helios, the closest star, the local yellow dwarf, the sun, whatever you feel like calling it. The most interesting star at which to gaze. And remember, folks, any major breakthrough in heliophysics translates to a major breakthrough in cosmology. The likelihood that's going to happen is kind of low, but eventually we'll probably learn more about the closest star than we already know. So fingers crossed for that. That's part of the reason why I do this in the first place. Considered majoring in cosmology back in the college years before I became a pro cyclist. So anyway, it's time to close out. We'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. More content likely to come out at some point today. So stay tuned for that and check out our shorts, as there will always be shorts coming through. That's where the bike tube stuff happens primarily. And I've been your host, Dan, aka Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And until next time, may that solar wind be at your back.